Evening, everyone, and welcome to The Show Must Go Online, the region's first shared programming network. I'm Julia Erickson. I'm the president of the Oakland Planning and Development Corporation's Board of Directors. And tonight, please enjoy an evening of Oakland Storytelling, featuring stories by Ty Williams, Laura Zurowski, and Sierra Sellers, who will also perform songs from her latest EP. This evening's event will be emceed by Dave English and is supported by Storyburgh. So for the past 40 years, Oakland Planning and Development's areas of focus have included affordable housing through rentals and sales, including the Oakland Community Land Trust, community organizing, neighborhood advocacy and planning, workforce development and financial coaching, and youth mentoring and career preparation. And I'm proud to say that my husband and I have been proud members of the Oakland community for the past 12 years and loved every minute of it. So all of our programs are made possible with the support of foundations, individual donors, and tonight's event sponsors: Walnut Capital, Next Tier Bank, UPMC, PNC, WESA and WYEP, and the Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh. So this evening, you'll see a chat window on the right-hand side of your computer screen. You can use this chat window to send messages to the storytellers during the performance or to chat with one another, and I encourage you to do so. Below the screen, you'll see a donate button. An evening of Oakland Storytelling is OPDC's annual fundraiser. So please consider making a donation so that we can continue to build a better Oakland and help neighbors thrive. Thank you so much, and please enjoy the show.
Hi, I'm Dave English, and I'm your host tonight. I am a native Pittsburgher, a city dweller, a Hill District resident, and a bit of a local character. I'm not an original Oaklander. I'm no Danny Marino. But like all Pittsburghers, Oakland, the neighborhood of Oakland, has been and still is very much a central and important part of my life. When I was a kid, I came to Oakland for all sorts of stuff. I came to Oakland for allergy shots, because this is where the hospitals were. We came down here for football games to see the Panthers play, back when you had to walk up to the top of the hill to get to the stadium. I was on the Mr. Rogers show once over at WQED, and we had to drive home from the blizzard of 82 or 83, I don't know. But that's an Oakland memory for me. What else did Oakland offer me? A palace of information and books, and historical artifacts, world-class museums and libraries, a glass dome filled with flowers and fauna all over the world. Oakland has been a lot for me. It's also pizza and gyros and cigar smoke and old guys hanging out in the corner. So much character, and while Oakland has changed so much in my lifetime, there are certain things about Oakland that are quintessentially Oakland that have not changed. And those are things that deserve to be preserved and celebrated, which is why it's so important to support the OPDC. One of our storytellers this evening is also a rising star on the local and national music scenes. Sierra Sellers is a Pittsburgh singer and songwriter. Right before quarantine started, Sellers released her second EP, Ophelia, where she shared her experiences on the infamous street here in Oakland. She'll tell us her story a little later in the evening, but first she'll perform some songs from Ophelia.
Hello, I'm Sierra Sellers. Welcome to my living room. This first jam is called Ophelia. I wrote it about the street in Oakland. So hope you can enjoy it, hope you can relate. All right. Remember them nights down on Ophelia, yeah. Them fights down on Ophelia, yeah. Was way too hit down on Ophelia, yeah. Lost my shit down on Ophelia, yeah. You know I don't mind it, how exciting, how inviting, how enticing it was, yeah. Ophelia, you know I don't give this on my sister. Who y'all messing with? 'Cause if it ain't a real one, you gon' have some regrets. You gotta be down, we better come correct. And since you stuck around, better get some respect. I'm not playing a fool, no wonder he talks fool. He wonder who. Said I'm not playing a fool, no wonder he talks fool. He wonder who. Not trying to knock a situation or cause dreams that you've been chasing, but a woman don't know man till she get to know his famous. Hard enough to face it with this language they convey. Don't you get complacent, don't you listen, don't you take it. You work more than the basics, yeah, you work more than the basics. You'll be making amends with the time that you've been wasted, but you knew that. Hey, yeah, I bet you knew that. Hey sister, who you messing with? Is he a real brother? Was he just a mess? Is he really down? Do we come correct? And since he's stuck around, do you get your respect? I'm not playing a fool, no wonder he talks fool. He wonder who. I said I'm not playing a fool, no wonder he talks fool. He wonder who. Now act like you know, not like you know better. Act like you know, not like you know better. Act like you know, not like you know better. Act like you know, not like you know better. Act like you know, not like you know better. Act like you know, not like you know better. Act like you know, not like you know better. Act like you know, not like you know better. Act like you know, not like you know better. Act like you know, not like you know better. Act like you know, not like you know better. Act like you know. I put this on my sister. Who y'all messing with? 'Cause if it ain't a real one, you gon' have some regrets. He better be down, he better come correct. If you stay around, oh hey, better get your respect. I'm not playing a fool, no wonder he talks fool. He wonder who. Said I'm not playing a fool, no wonder he talks fool. He wonder who. I was just minding my business. I was just doing my thing until you took my happiness and then you flipped it. Oh, yeah, had the audacity. Baby, tell me where you come from. Look like an angel, was it heaven? Honey, tell me where you going, 'cause I could use some get to know it. Let me know if I am tripping. Let me know if we can kick it, 'cause I got time to spend on you. I think it was a Sunday, a sunny afternoon, when I see you looking my way. Oh, I knew what I had to do. Hey, baby, tell me where you come from. Look like an angel, was it heaven? Honey, tell me where you going, 'cause I could use some get to know it. Let me know if I am tripping. Let me know if if we can kick it, 'cause I got time to spend on you. My homies say I'm bugging. They claim I'm out my head. Yeah. Well, let me tell ya something. I'll take it hating to love instead. Baby, tell me where you come from, like an angel was in heaven. Honey, tell me where you going, 'cause I could use some get to knowing. Let me know if I am tripping. Let me know if we can kick it, 'cause I got time to spend on you.
Another star from Oakland. Oakland is filled with many stars. Here's one of them now, Andy Warhol. Hey, thanks, Sierra. For more of her work and music, visit sierrasellers.bandcamp.com. Our first story this evening comes from Ty Williams. Born and raised on Fraser Street in South Oakland, he is a journalist and an artist activist working at the intersection of technology and community engagement with Carnegie Mellon University's Create Lab. Ty is heavily involved in the Oakland community through youth programming and community organizing, with focuses on art, affordable housing, and preservation of cultural community assets. Here he is now, Ty.
So my story can be told through my relationship with my grandma. The story of my life, the story of my relationship with my neighborhood, the story that really explains how I became to be a servant leader in the capacity that I am today. My grandma is really my family's matriarch and my community's OG community organizer, really. If anybody knows her, she's a tiny little woman with a huge personality, very bold, similar to Espresso. And she really instilled a sense of servant leadership into me. Ever since I can remember, I've always been doing things with her in a volunteer capacity. My earliest memory of her actually is in South Oakland at the field house. She had started the summer lunch program and we were volunteering with her, and I had to be about 8 at the time. And she had us suited up in our little aprons and we were passing out food to the community. And really a lot of my earliest memories with her have always been service oriented. So as I grew up, I decided to continue that path. I left Pittsburgh for a short while. I attended Penn State for 4 years. And my senior year, I graduated 2016. A lot of things were happening in the world, and it led me to start the organization that I represent now, which is the Trap Panther Party. And we are a community arts activism organization that dedicates our time to serving inner city youth and providing them with resources and art education programming that supplements their day-to-day activities. So I was up at Penn State starting Trap Panther Party, and I had a dilemma. I was at Penn State and I was ready to go. I was packing up my room and I had to decide whether or not I was moving back to Pittsburgh or if I would go with a lot of my friends, my colleagues, my classmates to Philadelphia. Both areas I realized I could do a lot of work in, but ultimately the decision came down to me reasoning that if I went to Philadelphia and did all of this work on behalf of the inner city youth there for their youth, who would come back to Pittsburgh and do that same thing on behalf of my community and the youth that are growing up now in the same spaces and environments that I grew up in. So that was really a driving force for me to return back to Pittsburgh. And once I did return back to Pittsburgh, I had got a job. I was selling Comcast door to door. Wasn't great, but then again, my grandma was there and she picked right back up where we had left, getting me involved She tells me what to do, but I never have a problem doing it. So it always seems like she's telling me what to do, but it's definitely something that I enjoy doing. So I came back from Penn State and immediately started getting involved in the neighborhood, assisting her doing things that she was getting too old to do in the community. And that really kind of positioned me in a way to really realize that this is the work that I wanted to be doing. So I quit my job at Comcast and I really started building some community programs. And my grandma, she's just a woman of many wonders. She introduced me to her neighbors at the time who were actually working at Carnegie Mellon University to talk about potential collaborations, bridging creative work with community work. And that's a lot of the things that they do at the Create Lab, which is where I'm at now currently. So I quit my job, started doing programs, and then I got hired at the Create Lab through my grandma's connection. And now, fast forward all that time, I'm working in the community. I'm the president of the South Oakland Neighborhood Group, which is the organization that my grandma has been a huge supporter of for so many years, and running community programs in the neighborhood now, really carrying on that legacy that she started and really helped perpetuate throughout our family.
Thanks, Ty. That was terrific. Next up is Laura Zurowski. Her project, Missteps, are misconnections with Pittsburgh City Steps, attempts to recreate the journey undertaken nearly 20 years ago by Bob Reagan in his books, The Steps of Pittsburgh, Portrait of a City and Pittsburgh Steps. It features Polaroids and short stories inspired by Pittsburgh's 739 public stairways.
Hello, everyone. My name is Laura Zurowski, and I have a little story for you about Oakland's city stairs. When I was a kid, my favorite books were the ones about the early explorers. Through their stories, I crossed mountains and oceans, braved the frozen tundra and tropical jungles, witnessed a flat earth being shaped through those seeking fortune and fame. Even as an adult, these spellbinding exploits still reside in the back of my mind, prompting me to get out and investigate the world. When I moved to Pittsburgh in 2013, I stumbled upon Bob Regan's book, Pittsburgh Steps, the story of the city's public stairways, in a local store. I had noticed a rather careworn flight of city steps half a block from my house, and my curiosity was immediately piqued. There were 738 more of these structures. I'm from Rhode Island, a relatively flat place, so the practice of constructing city steps through steep hillsides was exotic. Like the early explorers who were responsible for mapping the globe, Bob set off to locate Pittsburgh's lost and forgotten stairs using only his bike and scraps of information from historical sources. He was a transplant from Boston who was smitten by the old public stairways, but frustrated by the city's lack of record keeping of their locations. Bob's work was done in an era before GPS, Siri, or a highly developed internet, and the stairway maps we have today are a direct result of his persistent adventuring and charting. The book captured my imagination, and I decided to follow Bob's maps, notes, and data to locate and photograph all 739 city steps. I would follow the trail he had blazed decades before, except that now I had a whole host of technological resources at my fingertips. In July of 2017, I launched a blog and Instagram account for my project, which I called Missteps, our missed connections with Pittsburgh's city steps. Alexa, give me directions to John Kerr Street. Over the last 3 years, I've photographed and written about nearly 500 flights of city steps in Pittsburgh's 90 neighborhoods. When it comes to tallying votes for winners in categories such as the longest public stairway or neighborhoods with the most city steps, Oakland can't compete with the monster-sized paper streets and Southside slopes and Beachview. But if you consider the volume of everyday foot traffic on Oakland's 25 city steps, it becomes a serious contender for top honors. It also has the unique distinction of having a few stairways with runnels or tracks that allow a cyclist to transport their bike up or down the flight without having to lift it overhead. From the pedestrian thoroughfares connecting Panther Hollow with Central, to mysterious flights on forgotten streets in West Oakland, to the steps that circumvent vehicle traffic in North Oakland, these flights are like old friends, always there when you need them. Whether you're going to work, class, the library, or the Natural History Museum, if you're moving around Oakland, chances are city steps are a part of your journey. Since starting the steps, I've had the great pleasure of getting to know Bob. Now a quasi-retired faculty member in the engineering school at Pitt, Bob has all the qualities students want from a memorable teacher: enthusiasm, encouragement, mental toughness, and commitment to his discipline. While I've never sat in on one of his geographic information systems courses, I have been a student of sorts when it comes to puzzling out the mysteries of city stairs. The details he can recall about the most obscure nooks and crannies in Pittsburgh is incredible. I can always count on him to fill in missing information when a flight of stairs or street name disappears from an online map. He's also been a tireless cheerleader for Miss Steps and routinely asks about my progress, the city steps walking tours I give, and how various stairways and neighborhoods are looking. Last year, Bob turned 80 and willingly accepted my invitation to meet at his self-proclaimed favorite city stairs, the intersection of Fraser and Romeo Streets in South Oakland. I was visiting them for the first time, while he was returning after many years. While these intersecting flights have waned a bit since Bob first mapped them years ago, his adventurous spirit hasn't. He showed up for our get-together on a royal blue and Silva Vespa, quickly explaining how he would have preferred biking, but because he was scheduled for knee replacement surgery the following week, the doctor had asked him to take it easy. We walked up and down the steep steps and long walkway, inspecting the graffiti and broken handrails. We looked out at the view of downtown and the South Side. In time, we sat down and talked about our lives before we had come to Pittsburgh and what we loved so much about this place we had decided to call home. We talked about city government and the work that would need to happen to reduce residents' reliance on cars. We talked about our shared interest in Pittsburgh's history, projections for the future, and our upcoming vacations. It was a warm spring day and so easy to sit back and relax into a conversation. It's not every day you get to spend time with an explorer, one who changes the course of history because they ventured out into parts uncharted. My afternoon with Bob on the Fraser Street stairs is a moment I'll always treasure. Our conversation wasn't anything life-changing or astonishing. Its beauty was rooted in simplicity and shared interests. In many ways, it was not so very different from the conversations shared by all the generations of people who had lived and worked here over the last 100 years, the tens of thousands of people who have called Oakland their home. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Laura. That was really cool. Learn more about Pittsburgh Steps with Laura on her Instagram account at instagram.com/miss.steps. steps, we wrap up our storytelling this evening with a return appearance from Sierra Sellers as she takes us on a journey to a memorable summer on Ophelia Street.
Hi, I'm Sierra Sellers, and I'm here to share with you my Oakland story. So, a few months after I graduated college, I was just on Facebook randomly and uncovered a message in my inbox that I had missed. And it was from this girl who was a freshman when I was a senior. And she messaged me just to tell me basically how much she admired me and my confidence and my music, the way I dressed. And she always wanted to tell me in person, but I always had headphones in listening to music per usual. So she never got the chance. So she wanted to message me and say thank you for being who you are, because it's inspired me. And I read that and I thought, how did I get to a place where I inspired somebody? How did I accomplish that? I wasn't trying to do that. I don't always feel like I'm this force or this presence. I just kind of am who I am. So how did I get here? And I started to reflect and I thought about my upbringing. I grew up in a predominantly white and affluent area, and I felt kind of like an outcast. I felt like I didn't belong. And there were certain things like my hair I hid from other people out of fear of being judged and to avoid being, pet like a dog or something, because they don't have voluminous hair like me. And I didn't sing because they didn't have a deep, raspy voice, and they didn't know who Jill Scott or Erykah Badu were. So they couldn't relate to me, and I couldn't relate to them. So I was so excited to leave that place and go to college, because I thought, college, this is the place where I can finally be myself. I can wear my hair down, and I won't have to worry about how I'll be treated or looked at, because nobody knows me. They can't tell me when I say y'all that I'm talking ghetto, because they don't know me and they don't know where I'm from. So my freshman year, when I went to college, it went pretty much as expected. I had a great year. I met wonderful people. I felt more confident. I started wearing my hair down and out, and I started doing music. And through college, I was still dating my boyfriend from high school, and through the freshman year, of college, I was still dating my boyfriend from high school, and we kind of broke up at the end of the year, my freshman year. And so when the end of the year came, I dreaded so deeply going home, and it was only because I'm back in a space where I feel I don't belong, and I didn't want to be in that space. And a strange thing happened. I actually reconnected with these three girls from high school who I was cool with, but we didn't hang out outside of school. We were school friends. And so I started hanging out with them, and they just really had a huge impact on my life. The one girl was Katie, and she was a spitfire. She did not hold back on her opinions. She was who she was all the time and did not care what people thought. And I admired that so deeply in her. She just had this long red hair, and she never wore makeup. She was so comfortable and confident in her own skin. And she just wore like baggy clothes. She just was who she was. And then there was this other girl, Lindsay, who was the goofiest girl I've ever met in my life. And she helped me be more silly and be more outgoing as well through this time. And she was blonde, blue eyes, figure skater, so she always dressed in Lululemon. And she was just the life of the party always, no matter where she went, no matter who she talked to. She was also herself all the time. And then finally, it was my friend Jody. And she has curls like me, blonde, green eyes. And she was just so adventurous, fearless and fierce. I always say if we had to be the cast of Sex and the City, Jody would be Carrie Bradshaw, Lindsay would be Samantha, Katie would be Miranda, and I would be Charlotte. And if you know anything about that show, you know that Charlotte is conservative, keeps, to her family, to herself, her business is her business. And that's how I was. I was more reserved. I didn't party in high school or anything like that. I didn't do anything. And so this summer, when I started hanging out with those girls, Jody, the girl I had mentioned before, the Carrie Bradshaw character, she went to Point Park University. And one day she was like, hey, there's this party on Ophelia. Do you guys want to go? And so we all went, and it took that one party for us to start going to Ophelia every weekend. And we had the most magical times. And I can recall this one night. It was a beautiful, clear night. We were just chilling, drinking beer on a front porch with some of our friends who also attended Point Park, and they played soccer there. And all of us, we started hearing these drums in the background, and they sounded like Jumanji drums. And we were really curious, and it was like, hey, it's a beautiful, clear night. Let's go on a walk. Let's follow this noise. And as we got closer, the rhythm started building, and we started hearing more instruments, like with every step we took. And then we started hearing singing. And as we turned the corner, we saw more of our friends. And these were other players on the soccer team at Point Park. And they were from Brazil, and they were playing music from their country, and they were singing in Portuguese. And they welcomed us with smiles and greetings and encouraged us to dance. And all of a sudden, I'm in the middle of the street, adjacent to Ophelia, dancing on this beautiful summer night where one of my favorite things about Pittsburgh is that even in the city, you can still see the stars. And so we're dancing on the street, looking up at the stars, surrounded by people from Brazil, from France, from the UK, from Scotland, like all of these places. And I just paused and I looked at my friends and I was like, I can't believe that this is happening to someone like me, that Charlotte character, somebody who doesn't really get these experiences often. I can't believe that somebody who was shy and was afraid to let her hair down out of fear that people would judge her is now dancing in the middle of the street like a fool. So it was a magical, magical time for me. And quickly I snapped back out of it. I was spun back into the rhythm of the music. And I'll never forget that night ever in my life, because it was the first time that I felt like myself. It was the first time that I was not worried about what people were thinking of me. I wasn't feeling insecure. I wasn't feeling shy. I was feeling excited. I was feeling relieved. I felt like I could breathe. And so now 2 years, 6 semesters, 2 summers, whatever you want to call it, many moons had passed when I discovered this Facebook message from this girl, this young girl at my college, telling me that she admired me. And I'm thinking, how did I get here? And I don't know all of my journey. I just know that it had to have started on Ophelia. And we are forever grateful for that place. So thank you.
Thank you for joining us tonight. We hope you enjoyed an evening of Oakland Storytelling. Thank you to our storytellers and tonight's sponsors, Storyburgh, for their coaching, OPDC's staff and board, and City of Asylum. If you liked what you saw here tonight and you'd like to know what else is coming up on The Show Must Go Online, you can go to www.alphabetcity.org/show. Good night.